hanging up the oven mitts. Surgeons hang up their scrubs, ice dancers hang up their skates, and it may be time for me to hang up my oven mitts. Cooking for me is all about instinct. I'm a great on-the-fly cook. I can do the cookbook and recipe approach as well, but that's only for parties. For the two of us, I rely on my unerring instincts, and when it's a question of cooking, they have been unerring. Recently, we were planning a light supper of guacamole and chips because we had 3 perfectly ripe avocados begging to be mushed up. And as long as I was going to be in the kitchen, I decided to make a batch of granola. Are we all on the same page here? 3 things for me to do. First, slice tortillas into wedges and arrange them neatly to be baked to crispness. By baking rather than frying our tortilla chips, we give ourselves permission to eat a zillion times more of them than we would if they were fried and salted. Second task, make the guacamole. And third, mix up and bake the nuts and grains and seeds for the granola. I do all of these things by instinct, at least I used to. But my brain seems to be shattering into separate compartments that don't speak to each other, which plays merry hell with the idea of instinct. Instinct for me has always consisted of an idea tempered by another idea, filtered through an early warning system, and then combined with whatever impulse comes floating from the ether. On that day, I preheated the oven to 400 degrees for the chips. I put the pan of granola in the oven along with the first pan of chips, and one instinctual part of my brain said, "You don't want to be putting that granola in a hot oven, you know." And another compartment of my brain said, "Oh, it's okay. The chips don't take long, only 10 minutes, and then I'll turn the oven down. It won't hurt the granola." My mind actually said this, led me down this dangerous path. So there are the cookie sheets in the oven, and there am I, standing right beside the stove, definitely within smelling distance, and I start the guacamole. Oh, avocados. No, I can't get sidetracked here telling of my love affair with avocados. Just the facts, ma'am. Avocado, salt, and lemon juice, roughly mushed with my pastry blender, finely minced onion, 1 jalapeno minced, and some cilantro. Now, I love cilantro, but it's hard to keep on hand because it rots before I can get around to using it all. My solution is to zap a bunch of cilantro into a simple pesto, just cilantro and olive oil, in the food processor, and then freeze it. The freezer holds many little plastic containers of various pesto flavors, basil and pine nuts, parsley and walnut, and the plain cilantro. The containers all look the same. There just isn't time to label them properly. You know what I mean? So I added cilantro to my guacamole. I had convinced myself that it was cilantro, but after I stirred it into the guacamole, I realized it was a classic basil pesto with pine nuts and parmesan, and it ruined the guacamole. It didn't ruin it in the sense that I had to throw it out, but the basil pesto overpowered the avocado and everything else. It was edible, but only just. In the meantime, have you been wondering about that 400-degree oven and its contents? As I made the guacamole, I removed 1 batch of tortilla chips and put the second batch in the oven. I kept careful watch because there's nothing worse than burned tortilla chips. Okay, I'm wrong. There is something worse. At some late moment, my nose connected with my brain, and I realized that what I was smelling was burned honey and grains. Goodness me, I'd baked 2 sheets of tortilla chips, so the granola had been sitting there at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and guess what? That's too long. Where was your mind, Anne? Where were your vaunted instincts? I wanted to salvage the granola, but it was burned black, so I declared it inedible. My husband, however, has lower standards. He will eat anything if the only alternative is to throw it out. So I set aside the blackened granola to await his pleasure. And as soon as we lay in a new supply of rolled oats, I'll make more granola, more carefully. Ruined guacamole, burned granola. 2 screw-ups in 1 small meal. Time to hang up the oven mitts.
Thank you.